Here at Shaw Made, we like to take a proactive approach to solving some of life's most difficult problems. If you'd like to do more to help these little people, then feel free to smash that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell. Together, we can make a real difference. Babe, I'm gonna make a kids table and put it on YouTube!
Okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna start by making the tabletop. So I'm gonna take this big piece of wood, chop it and cut it down into smaller pieces of wood, and then glue those smaller pieces of wood into a big piece of wood. And that is woodworking. Just adds to the R value. Ow! I just got stabbed by glue, Viber. Ouch. Let's do this. All right. No! We're okay. That would have been a disaster. That would have been a disaster. Shit. Okay, we're all right. Pretty flat. I'm gonna use this to make the legs. I'm just gonna make 4 about 2" by 2" legs out of this. So I'm gonna cut it in half, rip it down, joint it, glue it, and get it ready to be my table legs. After I cut these legs to length on the chop saw, I'm going to go over to the table saw and make a sled to cut tapers onto them. Here I'm cutting a 7-inch wide piece of plywood to act as the base of the sled, and then I'll cut a couple of 2-inch wide pieces of plywood to act as registers to locate the legs on the sled. I marked the ends of one of the legs to show where the tapers would be, and then I just used those lines to line up the leg on the base of the sled. I clamped that in place, and then I glue and brad nailed the 2-inch wide pieces of plywood to locate the leg on the sled. This is a pretty down and dirty sled I'm making, and you can make them so that they're much nicer and much more adjustable, but I'm just in the mood to get it done, so here it is. I glue this piece of scrap wood on top to make the height of that surface right for the toggle clamps that I'm going to be using. Then I just secure these 2 toggle clamps on with a couple of screws each, and I'm ready to go over to the table saw. I set my fence to 7 inches and run the leg through the blade. Then I rotate the leg 90 degrees, use a shim to get good clamping pressure, and I'll run it through again. After that, it's just rinse and repeat for the other 3 legs. Okay, so I have the beginnings of a template made up here. I just used a compass to score some lines into this. And now I'm going to take a jigsaw and cut as close to those lines as I'm comfortable. And then I'll clean up with this triangular file. So then my plan will be to stick this onto the wood that I'm going to use for the apron and trace it, and then cut off the bulk of the material with the jigsaw, and then put this back on and use it as a guide for my router. Okay, I got the template all cut and finished. If I had to put a grade on it, I would say it's a solid, pretty good. And that's just what I was going for. So now I'm going to take this poplar, cut it up into 2 32-inch pieces and 2 16-inch pieces, and use this template to put this pattern into it, and that'll make up the apron. So let's get to that. So I left some meat here in the corners because I'm going to go and finish that with a router, and it's going to leave a radius there, and I didn't want to cut into that radius. So I'm going to get the template back on this one and see if I can smooth this piece out. This poplar tastes like shit. Well, I got those done on the first try. Anyways, I'm going to assemble this with miters at the corners, so I need to get those cut in. I also need to get the tabletop cut down to final size. I'm going to do some roundovers, and then after that it's sanding, assembly, and painting. So I cut the wrong bevel on one of the ends of the long pieces of the apron. The short pieces were just fine. I went about fixing it by just cutting the right angle one scallop earlier, one scallop further from the end, and it made the apron a little bit shorter, but ultimately it worked pretty good and fixed the problem. So there you go. Well, I put that together and it looked like crap. The apron came out super twisted and now the legs are pointing in every direction, and that is not going to be good enough. I thought I could get away without milling the poplar and squaring it up, but boy was I wrong. So now I'm going to make a new apron. So now I've got to take the wood that I have left, I've got to mark it, I've got to cut it to length, I've got to cut it on the table saw, I've got to take it over to the jointer and square two sides, I've got to take it back to the table saw and square the other two sides, I've got to trace the scallop on, I've got to rough cut the scallop with the jigsaw, I've got to finish the scallop with the trim router, I got to put it together, and then we'll see how it looks. Okay, good. Yes. Show me 7. Cut these little wooden blocks I'm going to glue on in 4 corners, and that's what the Z-clip will clip onto to hold this tabletop on. You can instead do this with a biscuit joiner and just make a slot in the side of this apron, and then that Z-clip goes into there, but I don't have one of those tools and I don't want to buy one, so this is how I'm doing it. All right, I finished this table, and I think it turned out really good. I sent it out to get painted, and by that I mean my wife painted it, and she did a really good job. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. In fact, I probably built this table twice. But the good news is I was able to salvage most of those parts and make an even smaller table or bench. Thanks for watching.